I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, April Fool's Day, brought to you in part by Norbrook. Norbrook strives to provide greater value in the generic products it provides, including making enhancements in formulation, packaging, and economical costs over Pioneer products. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Prospective Planning's gut punch. As if these grains haven't, hurt your feeder cattle market enough already, as they've just skyrocketed, mostly due to the war in the Ukraine, as they're just a kind of a breadbasket of the world, providing a lot of grains out of that country and a lot of fertilizer, which is astronomical, the cost of that. So it's really put these grains on a spike, and of course that's going to hurt your cattle market, and we're really going into a time not so much in your feedlots on market ready cattle, as we're going to run into a heavier supply of those going into the early summer. But we are short of calves. We're short of beef cows. This cow market has been really hot, guys, with these good high dressing cows bringing way up in the 80s and the 90s, and some of them over $1, as I've quoted you this week. Bulls well over $1, as high as 130, as I reported earlier in the week. But it's causing even more of them to come to town, and a lot of bred cows. But the heck of it is, nobody's got any feed, and so even though they're pretty good bred cows that should go back to the country, guys really got to want them to knock those packer buyers out, those cow packer buyers in your sale barns, which they participate in active trading. Your cow buyers do, not so much your slaughter steers and heifers, but just losing a lot of cows, and it's getting progressively worse or better for the market in the long run. As our supplies are down, our prices are going to be up. These lightweight cattle, of course it's springtime, everybody's got grass fever. These lightweight calves and these stocker cattle, especially your middleweight stocker calves and lightweight yearlings, weighing in your high 5s, your 6s, and even the low 7s, are bringing big money, and it's just unbelievable what they're bringing compared to how much it's going to cost to feed those. But guys are going to have some grass to turn those out on this summer. They're getting some moisture in the middle part of the plains, but it's really a volatile time here with high prices, and like they say, high grains make high cattle, and I guess that's what's happening here. But the Prospective Planning's report that I talked about was another gut punch, as your cattle use all your grains to a certain degree, but corn is the main ingredient, and Prospective Plannings of corn acres were reported to be down 4% from a year ago, and they mostly went to the beans. Prospective Planning acres up 4%. So normally if you got ground there, you're going to plant corn or beans on it if you're in that part of the country and you're in that kind of business. But as you would expect, Prospective Planning is of wheat acres up 1%, cotton up 9%. But your grains have been competing here this spring, as we've gotten into this volatile time here in the world situation. And of course the markets have been going sky high, but they've been competing for the acres. But it appears that beans have won out against the corn, and if we ever needed a season in 2022 that people raised a lot of corn and we have a bumper crop, we were needing it this year to try to peel down that big market a little bit and help with our cost of gains. But it doesn't look like we're going to get any help there, and of course it hurts your especially your back months of your feeder cattle futures, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But coming to you from Salem, Missouri, that's southern Missouri. This is familiar territory for me, as I traveled the whole state of Missouri for many years as I worked for the USDA in the state of Missouri, reporting all the markets and the livestock and grain markets all over the state. And I know people all over. Saw a lot of familiar faces, a lot of old friends that I haven't seen for a long time. They had a bi-county cattlemen's event here in Denton County which is Salem, Missouri, which is not a big area. You know, it's hills and hollers here, but a lot of cattle down here, guys. If you know about Missouri, Missouri's pretty well cut through the middle with the Missouri River there. Most of your cattle production is in the south because it's not as good a country for farming. Most of your farming's done in the north part. Of course, there's a lot of cattle up there too, and Missouri is cattle country. But man, did we have a great event. It was sponsored there by the Bi-County Cattlemen's Association there, and they are affiliate of Missouri Cattlemen's Association, which Missouri Cattlemen's Association is totally in favor of the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act that I've been promoting. They're on the right side of the bill, even though they're affiliate of National Corporate Beef Association. They've went on the side of trying to get price discovery and some competition back in our finished cattle markets, but because they know that's what the best thing for a cow-calf producer and your stocker operators in the state of Missouri. But boy, did we have a great event. Had 250 people there eating a great steak, and had all kinds of sponsors. It took them forever to list all the people that donated money to hold this event, and had me come in and give a talk, and it was just a great event. All the sale barns in this part of the country were behind it, and donated money to help put the event on. But saw a lot of good friends, like I said. Met some new friends, including a young fella that watches Feeder Flash every morning by the name of Chase Simpson, and really an impressive young man, and on top of the game there. He appeared to be about 10 years old, but I like that young man, and he was a good guy, and I told him I'd give him a shout out on the Feeder Flash, and there it is. But I'm staying at my friend Frank Barnes's hunting cabin here on his place, and just beautiful scenery around here. He's got some heifers that are calving all around this hunting cabin here. But I have to tell you a quick story about my friend Frank Barnes. He is a former state representative and state senator in Missouri, and he's a cattleman. That's what kind of cattle country we're in here in southern Missouri. But years ago, when I was grading livestock for USDA, and he was running a ranch to rail program where they were he had a lot of producers that were bringing cattle into his backgrounding facility, and he was getting them all straightened out, and we were doing a ranch to rail deal where we were putting the cattle together, and then we put them for sale, and the feedlots would bid on them, and then we'd follow them through the feedlot and then through the cooler, and then people could see how their calves were doing. A very educational thing. But they would have one of us USDA livestock graders come in and grade the cattle and put a price on them where people could kind of see how they did. We'd price them right before they went off to the feedlot. But I was told, of course, they always had to stay on top of me because they knew me pretty well, that be on my best behavior, because I was going to a state senator's place, and so I was all prepared to be on my best behavior, and got there, and Frank Barnett had an old cowboy hat on that looked like it needed the oil changed on it, and I think he cussed every calf that come through the chute there as he was running the head gate, and putting the implants in, and they were processing the cattle, and then they would let them out of the chute, and I'd grade them, put a price on them, and we went through the whole herd that way. But I got a kick out of Frank as he would have a constituent call him on his cell phone, and he'd be working cattle while he was doing it, and he would promise them the world and tell them that he was looking out for all their causes, which he was. But then he'd go hang that phone up and go right back to cussing those cattle, which is a normal occurrence, as you guys know, whenever you're working cattle. But as soon as we got done working the cattle, he said, "I'm sorry, but all I've got's Natty Light. I hope that's all right." And it was, but we became quick friends and have been friends ever since. But not a lot of places to stay around Salem, Missouri, so he said, "Why don't you come out and stay in my hunting cabin? We'll come out and have breakfast in the morning." So I'm looking forward to that, and spending some time with his family. But I really appreciate that. But all the people that were at the event in Salem, Missouri, were definitely behind the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. And I apologize because I've had several people ask me what the number of that bill is, because you need that whenever you call in to that House Representatives hotline to tell them that you're in favor of the bill and you're really wanting that to go through. But it's Senate Bill 3229. Senate Bill 3229. It's an active bill. We're waiting to get a hearing scheduled. Then we'll have some people come in and testify at that hearing from every side, and then the ag committees will vote on it, and then hopefully it'll go to the floor and we'll see the votes, and hopefully we can get this deal pushed through. But if you want to support that, now I'm counting on you people to help me out here with this. I truly believe in my heart that this is the best option that we have. It's our only option, really, to help get some more competition in your fed cattle arena, which is going to trickle down, guys, because we are losing our negotiated fat cattle trade just in waves. And I've told you many times that Texas is looking to go to net zero here within just a couple of years if we don't get something done. But call that number, 202-225-3121. Tell them who you are, where you live, what you do for a living. Tell them that you support that Senate Bill 3229, the compromise bill from Grassley and Fisher, and well, we sure need to get that deal pushed through. It's our chance to try to preserve this industry, but I believe we're making strides on it, getting a lot of calls in. The U.S. Cattlemen's Association, I'm hearing from people, we've seen the NCBA come out against it in some magazine articles, of course, but there was no doubt that they were going to be against it because they policy that they just passed down in Houston, that their recent convention, that they are against any kind of a mandate, and we're wanting to mandate minimum levels of negotiated trade and put a freeze on it from going any lower. And then as they get an ag economist in there, the secretary will do that and then see where we need to be and then adjust it higher than what it is right now, especially in the southern plains, guys. But I tell you what, we sure need to get that deal done, and we're getting ahead of steam behind it, guys. I'm hearing good things about this deal. I think it's going to work. Of course, NCBA is against it. U.S. Cattlemen's Association is totally for it. They've been working tooth and nail getting this deal pushed through. I've been working with them. We've got some RCAFers, and they're undecided on the deal, but a lot of them are coming in our direction. And I don't know about staff, but we've got RCAF members, and nobody's got any more excitement about the industry than your RCAF people do, and I appreciate that. But some of them are behind it too, and some of them are seeing that it's our option right now to get something done to try to get things straightened out. And the best thing about that bill, along with all the other portions of it, including the 14-day announcement from packers on how many cattle they've got for delivery over the next 14 days, the cattle contract library, all the parts and pieces in it that are good. But the best thing about it is it's adjustable on that minimum negotiated trade requirement. It's adjustable, and they're come in. It's going to be a forever continuous deal to keep adjusting on that deal to get robust trade and price discovery in your finished cattle market. And I just think that it's a no-brainer that we've got to get pushed through. But let's talk about your board on Thursday. April live cattle futures down just 80 cents, and that wasn't too bad. The feeder cattle futures didn't suck them down too bad, but April live cattle down 80 at 139.37. June down 87 at 137.12. Your back months were unchanged to down 47, so not terrible in the live cattle pits, and it sure shouldn't have been. But it's been following your feeder cattle here quite a bit of late as it's looking for direction. March feeder cattle were down just 7 cents, and you think, well, that wasn't bad. Well, it's the last day for them here as we've matured, sitting at 155.90, and that's very, very close to what your CME cash feeder cattle index is, even closer to what your real-time index is, which I always tell you guys is a very good indicator of that, whenever your futures spot month comes to fruition there. But April feeder cattle down 227 at 161.40. Your back months were down really hard too. All of them down from 192 to 262. So rough day in your feeder cattle pits, all mostly because of that prospective plantings report, as we lost 4% of our acres on corn. And your corn was up quite a bit, 10 3/4 cents, but that's not as volatile as it's been of late. And your fall contracts close to harvest, they're up over 20 cents. But your corn for May was up 10 3/4 cents at 7.48 3/4. Your beans were down though, because they lost 4%. Beans down 45 3/4, closing regular trading at 16.18 1/4. It's not that we don't use bean products in our cattle feed, but it's not just straight up beans. It's not as important to the cost of gains as your corn is. Kansas City hard red winter wheat down 14 3/4 cents due to just 1% rise in acres, 10.29 3/4. Your fat cattle trade, we had more trade in the northern plains on Thursday. It all happened in the southern plains on Wednesday, and they were fully steady at 138. Excuse me. Northern plains held out for a little more money and indeed got some more money. Kind of steady to firm on your live prices in the northern plains, and they traded the bulk of their cattle on Thursday, and the market was sure enough higher on a dress basis, although lighter testing in that. But Iowa, 9,800 head confirmed on Thursday, 15,900 head for the week so far. Live prices 139 to 143.50. So we hadn't seen it that high. So we gained a little bit of ground. It was mostly just in Iowa, and I've told you up in that part of the country they are running really tight, the packers are, on the market ready cattle. Dress sales in Iowa from 222 to 228. The highest we saw last week was 225. So that's $1 to $3 higher, like I said, on a light test dress basis, but pretty good market there, for the way things are. Nebraska at 14,000 head confirmed on Thursday, 24,900 head for the week. Live sales in Nebraska steady to firm there, 138 to mostly all 140. So dress prices in Nebraska 221 to 225. Kansas about 700 head is all, just short of 16,000 for the week, and that's fairly light for Kansas. 138 was the live price, of course. Had a little bit of 222, which would have been a buck higher there on a dress basis, but fairly limited. Texas only about 400 head, and just about 9,300 head is all for the week in negotiated trade in Texas, but 138, and that's fully steady there. Box beef cutout values higher, they continue higher, and they're taking pretty big leaps. Choice cuts on Thursday afternoon, 268.39, up $1.35. Selects up $4.88. We keep seeing these big jumps in the selects, but then they have trouble holding them. But Thursday was up $4.88 at 262.34. Slaughter running a pretty good clip here. If we can finish it out, we have trouble finishing it the week out on Fridays and Saturdays on your slaughter, but 490,000 for the week up through Thursday. That's 2,000 more than last week, 21,000 more than the same week a year ago. Actual slaughter information for the week ending March the 19th, as I tell you, it's always 2 weeks behind, but this Senate Bill 3229 is also calling for those to be expedited, to get those weights in a little bit quicker, so that your producers can make better decisions on the information that they get a hold of. But average dressed steer carcass weight, 916 pounds, which is still really big, but it's 1 pound less than the previous report last week. So they're starting to trickle down just a little bit, and the cost of gains and the feed costs have got to be making people pull the plug a little bit quicker, and we've seen people slowly starting to pull cattle ahead, especially in the southern plains. We need them to continue to do that, so when we run into those bigger numbers, we don't get jolted, and that's going to happen here mid to late May and for sure in June. But talk about what else is going on. Going to be headed back to Texas, but I got to stop in El Reno, Oklahoma on Saturday for the Reds in the Heartland sale through Oklahoma Red Angus Association. That's Saturday there at OKC West Livestock Market, El Reno, Oklahoma at 1 o'clock p.m. You guys come by and see me if you get a chance. How about your feeder cattle market? Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday, sitting at 155.98. That's cash steers averaging 800 pounds. It was down just 7 cents from the previous day's close. Brought to you by Margin Tracks by Midcon, and very, very close here at maturation of your March contract. And your CME cash feeder cattle index was 155.76. Talk about your big sales on Thursday. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas had a big sale, 5,600 head, and we're tight on receipts right now, but they had a couple of weeks there running kind of slow as they had some weather that came in on sale day, and they've been running a little bit lighter receipts, but man, they caught up this week with 5,600 head. Feeder cattle, feeder steers sold $3 to $4 higher. They called feeder heifers $1 lower, but automated market report showed everything higher. Calves and stocker cattle $5 to $10 higher. And I tell you what, they've been getting some good rain up in that part of the country. Earlier in the week when I come through there, I had some really good rain in the top half of the Flint Hills, and we're going to have some grass to graze out there. Look at your automated market report from Salina, Kansas, Farmers and Ranchers Livestock. Best tested weights of steers, and they were all well tested. I'm going to give them all to you, and you see the trends on them compared to last week's weighted average, and they were sharply higher. 444 head of 5-weight steer calves averaged 553 in Salina, Kansas at 198.50. 324 head of 6-weight steers averaged 648, 178 and a quarter. 445 head of 7-weight steers averaged 754 at 162.45 on the weighted average price. Almost 1,100 head of 8-weight steers in Salina on Thursday averaged 856 with a weighted average price on all of them of 152.32, and 585 head of 9-weight steers averaged 921 with a weighted average price of 145.40. Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas had a pretty good sale themselves, 3,900 head there. Middleweights, heavier calves and stockers, those that suitable to turn out, were sharply higher there. Heavier weight feeders, though, steady to $2 lower, but they had a snappy sale last week, so it's not uncommon that they'd come off a little bit from that. Some individual quotes around the circuit. How about Lamona, Iowa? Man, they had a good sale there. These are on some heifers, some green heifers, and just burning up with condition. And the guy had them turned out. They were green. Just hand feeding them just enough to get them caught, and they were just ready to take off when you turned them out. But really calf weight yearling cattle. But the Nordell cattle there and sell really, really well. 156 head of stocker heifers there, average 588 pounds at 175.75. That's weighing nearly 6 at nearly 176 on heifer cattle, people. How about Clarinda, Iowa? Clarinda Livestock Auction there. My friend John Anderson, Frank Hepker, they've got a good sale up there. 80 head, 799 or 800 pound steers at 165.50. Bluegrass Stockyards South in Stanford, Kentucky sold 72 head of 671 pound steers at 176.90, standing in the ring in Stanford, Kentucky. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Row Grow top quote for the day come out of Billings Livestock Commission in Billings, Montana. 54 head, 694 pound steers bring $190 smooth. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.